Good afternoon. My name is Elaine Kallestad. I am the organist and director of music, choir director here at Holy Cross Episcopal Church in the beautiful Valley Cruces, North Carolina mountains. I want to welcome you to the organ concert today. This day is May the 24th, 2020, and it is a special day for our parish because originally this day would have been the beginning of the St. John's Summer Concert Series. And we were prepared on this day to offer that summer concert featuring our Holy Cross Vocal Choir, our Holy Cross Handbell Choir, and joining forces with the Banner Oak Presbyterian Church Choir. All of that was in the works, and then the pandemic struck, and that concert has now been postponed. So in April, when our rector, Father Alan McCaslin, approached me and asked if I would be interested in giving an organ concert, I said yes, and I thought, why don't we put that organ concert on May the 24th, because it was the day that we were all prepared to go to a concert anyway. I decided to call this concert the ABCD concert because I wanted to feature works by composers whose last names began with A, B, C, and D. You will hear a variety of styles, a variety of stops and interpretations, and a large variety of music. All of this was carefully chosen and selected not only because they are some of my favorite pieces, but also because I believe in many ways they speak to us during this pandemic and during these times. Before I begin with the piece by Dr. Timothy Albrecht, I want to also thank Father Alan McCaslin for suggesting that I do this concert and allowing me to do it. I want to thank our curate, Reverend Anna Shine, for her technical assistance. I especially want to thank my husband, Scott Kallestad, for all of his hours of recording and for registering for me and turning pages for me in the Dupre. And finally, I want to thank each of you for joining us online for this concert experience. Now, the first piece that I will play for you by Timothy Albrecht is called Christ the Lord is Risen Today. Dr. Albrecht is the professor of organ, also the professor of church music, and the organist at the Candler School of Theology at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. This piece, Christ the Lord is Risen Today, is from Professor Albrecht's collection for organ works called Grace Notes. This particular tune is called Landfair, and in the Episcopal Church we know Landfair as an Ascension Day hymn, which is called Hail the Day That Sees Him Rise. And in fact, we sang that today in worship. Other denominations have also set the tune Landfair to the Easter hymn, Christ the Lord is Risen Today. And it is that setting that you will hear in just a few minutes. This particular arrangement is very lively, very energetic, very sprightly. It is so fun to play, and it will have the hymn tune, Landfair, in the melody on a solo manual registration. That will incorporate an 8-foot gedeckt, a 4-foot spiel flute, a 2-foot principal, and the quint mutation stop, the quint 1 1/3. So I hope you enjoy the concert. Thank you for joining us, and here we go with Timothy Albrecht's Christ the Lord is Risen Today. The next piece I would like to play for you is by Johann Sebastian Bach. It is one of the early Preludes and Fugues, which is in the collection called 8 Little Preludes and Fugues. I will add that there is some controversy amongst music historians whether these pieces finally are really composed by Johann Sebastian or if they were perhaps put together by one of his students like Johann Krebs. At any rate, there is controversy on that because while some people feel like the writing is too simplistic to have been Johann Sebastian Bach, there are other pieces in that collection that have the stamp of the master. I believe that this piece I am doing is indeed a Bach piece because if you listen at the middle of the prelude or toccata portion of this piece, there's a big fancy show-off organ pedal solo. Now who would have done that but Bach? So the particular prelude and fugue I am playing for you is the G major. It is the BWV catalog number 557, Bach Verzeichnis. It begins with a slow grave movement and then goes into this fast kind of toccata prelude. That's when you get to the pedal solo towards the end of that. And then it comes in with the fugue. In an effort to kind of show how so many of the pieces on this particular program are related, I will mention that the edition I play from has been annotated by Marcel Dupré, whose name will show up later in the program. So, Johann Sebastian Bach's Prelude and Fugue in G major. The next pieces that I will play for you are by Johannes Brahms. They are from his collection of 11 chorale preludes, his opus 122. This collection was written towards the end of Brahms's life. Indeed, it was written in the last summer of his life while he was on vacation at Bad Ischl in Austria. That summer was clouded by the death of his best friend Clara Schumann and by his own impending death as he was going through the disease of cancer of the liver. The historians know that he wrote the 11 chorale preludes with these thoughts in mind, and that he most certainly wrote them in memory of his friend Clara Schumann. I will be playing for you chorales number 5 and number 6. Number 5 is Schmücke dich, O liebe Seele, and it is also called Deck Thyself, My Soul, with Gladness, and we know that hymn tune well here in our Episcopal Church in Holy Cross. So I will not play the prelude, I will not play the hymn before I play the prelude. We'll simply go straight into that prelude. And in that prelude, you will hear the Cantus Firmus, the hymn tune in the feet, and above that, you will hear the hands on light eighth note motifs throughout the piece. After that one, number 5, Schmücke dich, I go to number 6, which is called, I have to look at my notes, O wie selig seid ihr doch, ihr Frommen, in English, Blessed ye who live in faith unswerving. That is a chorale tune we are not familiar with. So after Schmücke dich, you will hear the chorale, O wie selig, and then you're going to hear the prelude that Brahms wrote on that chorale. In that one, you will hear a rapid eighth note passage in the feet, but the tune is going to be in the soprano. So without further ado, here are the Johannes Brahms 11 chorale preludes. So now we are at the alphabet letter C. The composer for C is François Couperin, and François Couperin wrote so many pieces at his time because he was both an organist and a harpsichordist and a court musician. In the year 1689, he published a series of music for the masses. He published this in 2 separate volumes. The first was Mass for the Parishes, which was written for the congregations at the parish level. The second collection was Mass for the Convents, which was written for the ecclesiastical people. It would be for the abbeys, the monasteries, the churches. Both collections work with the setting of the Mass, and this piece that I will play for you, the Offertoire sur les grands yeux, there is a separate offertoire in the Mass for the Parishes as well. But this one, from Mass for the Convents, is an awful lot of fun, and it features a dialogue with the reed stop on our organ that's in the swell, and that will be a small regale, which is like a crumhorn. So you have dialogue between the reed stop and the great manual. I will mention that I have abbreviated this offertoire because I needed more time in my program to work into the Dupré, so you will hear Offertoire sur les grands yeux in an ABA form. The thread that connects this Couperin piece to the rest of the concert is that Brahms studied an awful lot of Couperin, played all of his works, and they were said to be a very big influence in Brahms' piano music. So there's the connection. I hope you enjoy Offertoire sur les grands yeux by François Couperin. The final segment of today's concert is the letter D. It is Marcel Dupré, and I will be playing the 4 movements of his setting of Ave Maria Stella, which comes from his collection of 15 pieces for organ based on antiphons. Marcel Dupré improvised all of the music in this collection on August 15, 1919, at the Notre Dame Cathedral, where he was organist, for the Feast of the Assumption, or the Feast of the Blessed Virgin Mary. There's an interesting story behind this particular collection. Were it not for an Englishman who was the managing director at Rolls-Royce, who happened to be in attendance that day, August 15, 1919, who heard these pieces improvised and was so impressed by them that he sought out Marcel Dupré after the service. He asked him what he was playing, and Dupré said, well, I'm just improvising. And the Englishman said, I will pay you to get you to write this down. I will submit it to the Novello Publishing Company, and you will come to London and perform a concert of these pieces at the Albert Hall. So everything transpired according to plan, and Dupré actually wrote this music down. Novello published it, and in December of 1920, Dupré made the trip to London, gave a huge concert before 9,000 people, including the Prince of Wales, who was later to become King Edward VIII, the same king who had to abdicate his throne to Queen Elizabeth. The melody that you will hear in Ave Maria Stella is set 4 different times. Each movement is set to a portion of text. I'm going to read that for you. The first movement is When the Salutation Gabriel Had Spoken. The second movement is Jesus, Tender Mother, Make Thy Supplication. The third movement, So Now As We Journey, Aid Our Weak Endeavor. The fourth movement, the Amen, and the Grand French Toccata. In each of these pieces, you will hear the hymn tune, the Gregorian plain chant, Ave Maria Stella, set in different ways. Sometimes it will be in the bass pedal notes, sometimes it will be on reed stops in the solo registration, sometimes it will be hidden in there. It will always be somewhat different, because what Dupré was doing was mixing up the idea of Mary, guiding us as the star of the seas, guiding us to Jesus, hence a Marian antiphon. These things that are way up in the celestial heavens. So you will hear, especially in the Amen Toccata, the highest notes on the organ. And you will hear pieces that are very quiet based on the text of that individual movement. You will hear in the Amen huge French Grand Toccata style, where you have your pedal playing the different parts of that cantus firmus, of that plain chant, and very busy staccato type passages. So I would like to very quickly play for you the plain chant, because you will know it immediately when you hear it in these pieces, but also I want you to know that Dupré did vary it a little bit. The original tunes go like this. Just so that you know, that is indeed the Gregorian plain chant upon which all of these pieces are based. Enjoy.